If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to MINDSHOCK True Crime. This is Kenny Veach 2, Psychological. We examined this very mysterious and bizarre disappearance in part 1 about an adventurer and hiker, Kenny Veach, 47, who went missing in the area of Area 51 and Area 6, top secret military bases that were near a hiking area of the Sheep Mountain Range. So, this is a continuation examining new information, intricacies, and the psychological aspects of Kenny Veach and how they might have impacted his ultimate fate. I'm your host, Bruce McGuire.
And Maxwell Powers.
And if you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. If you like the video, hit the like button. Feel free to share it across social media platforms. Questions, comments, theories, insults. Just leave them in the comments section. Make sure you like our Facebook page. You can also check us out, Twitter, Reddit, Patreon. Okay, Maxwell, since you were paying attention so well in the first episode, do you have any new thoughts on what could have happened to Kenny Veach?
No, not at all. He probably got nothing new. Just probably got lost and dehydrated and passed out and died. Or I don't know. It could have been a fake person. I don't know.
All right, so there's no. It seems like he was real. We went over. I mean, why would there's a missing persons report? There's police reports. I mean, unless they just took the word
I thought you said that there was nothing on the guy. Like there was no. I thought our talk was like there was no articles about him. That
I
kind of
said
shit.
there were two, and an official search team is looking for him as well as other missing persons. So there was a police report filed. He was listed.
Just nothing big media stuff like CNN and that shit, right?
Yeah, nothing big, and he is in NamUs, so he's in the official database. It is a sparse entry. There's not a lot of information, but his daughter spoke out and his ex-girlfriend, and yeah, there is more information that we overlooked. So one major thing, so Snake Bit McGee, that's his name. So we never went over why that's his name. Why do you think that is, Maxwell?
Because a snake bit him, and then McGee is like a McDonald's combined with G. I don't know.
Yeah, he actually was bitten by a rattlesnake and hospitalized.
So McGee Hospital or some shit.
No, McGee has nothing to do with hospital. I'm just saying he was bit by a rattlesnake. So you know how like he liked to play with snakes? Like that wasn't just an online brag. I mean, there's videos or photos of him playing with snakes. So he was bit by a rattlesnake before and hospitalized, almost died. No thoughts at all on that, Maxwell?
No, that's interesting. Well, I mean, that's great. He's playing that he I don't know, whoever that famous guy that got killed by a stingray. I don't know. He's playing that dude.
Stingray.
I don't know. He was some famous dude on Animal Channel. He was swimming in the ocean, and the stingray stung him, stabbed him in the heart and killed. I don't know. It's a long time ago. But it's that Australian guy. This just plays with like every animal there is.
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, that's Steve Irwin.
The crocodile hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's telling though is Kenny Veach, after this incident, he continued to play with rattlesnakes. So this guy is not just some kind of play actor playing tough in YouTube videos. He does seem to be a genuine adrenaline junkie adventure type personality where he doesn't seem put off by danger. I mean, he hikes without a GPS, with limited supplies. He's very, some people would say, use the word reckless in his hiking approach. However, he's very experienced and very good as well. And a lot of these types of people with these personalities are, in fact, very good at their craft, which some people say that overconfidence leads to their demise. What are your thoughts on that?
Say that one more time.
A lot of people that are kind of adrenaline junkies or adventurers or simply just very good at their craft, they're overconfident. And people who die, even Steve Irwin, I mean, they're obviously very, very skilled at handling dangerous animals or dangerous situations. However, that kind of seeming recklessness could be the cause of their demise, the overconfidence.
Yeah, it happens to a lot of people. Oh, are
For,
you saying like he was walking in the desert and like
well, for example, well,
he
for
came
exa-
across a rattlesnake and just decided, hey, this I'm gonna play with the snake, and then it got bitten and died.
but then where's his body?
I don't know. It's a big land. I don't know.
Well, where the supplies that he brought? I mean, he had, he had his clothing, probably a pack of some kind. He did have some supplies that he brought with him. All anybody found was the cell phone by the mine, which, yeah, why would he leave it there if he's going for the M cave? Which, as I postulated in part one, the M cave could be a red herring, because even if he was out to find it, or what if he just changed his mind? If he was out hiking, he wanted to do something else. He didn't want to look for the M cave. He was like, oh, maybe I'll go over this other range over here in this area. But that still doesn't explain the cell phone. So, yeah, but what I was saying before, though, he's obviously very, very good at desert hiking. He can cover great distances in very small amounts of time.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was just saying that he's obviously confident, but was he overconfident? And did that lead to his demise? If he's dead and didn't run away and start a new life.
Yeah, it's a possibility. That seems to be a pattern.
All right. So one other thing we didn't discuss. So remember how he was very adamant that nobody would ever find his body if he did commit suicide?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, from some comments online, if this is true, he was actually the one that found his father's body after his father committed suicide. So that could have potentially, well, not potentially, I'm sure that was very traumatic. So that would probably cause him to say if he ever committed suicide, he would never put someone through the trauma of finding his body.
Oh man, that's a good theory. That's really good. I actually didn't know about the father. Maybe you mentioned it the
I
last time, but
mentioned that his father had committed suicide, but I did not mention that he was the one who found the body, if that's true.
I see. That's an interesting that's interesting information. Definitely, that could have something to do with it.
Well, I'm sure that was the cause of that statement if he in fact did make that statement. So yeah, I don't even know if we have a date here. So the article that I read last time said that his father committed suicide when Kenny was in his early 20s. I think someone else might have said it was when he was 19. But yeah, this is another example of why is there so little information about Kenny Veach? We can't even narrow down. I mean, what was his father's name? Was there an obituary? None of this stuff is available online, as far as I can tell. I've done a bit of digging, but there's really not much out there. Any thoughts on that?
Um, mm, I don't know. I mean, what do you expect though? Like, I mean, maybe do you expect like a social media account on the guy, or I mean, I
No.
don't know what records.
Well,
I mean, if I look,
for example, in any other missing persons case, just about, we can find all this information about people, the parents' names, obituary.
oh,
We can
I
find
see,
all
I
this.
see.
We can't
Yeah,
find
yeah.
anything about Kenny Veach or his family.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, where are his friends? Why are his friends not? Yeah, it's just it's bizarre. It's bizarre. There's just very little media coverage, almost none. Okay, so a couple of people have actually been searching for Kenny Veach repeatedly. So they've gone through the area many times. It's definitely a dangerous area, but what I found was an interesting post by Jeff CLA from a few years ago. So here it is. To solve this mystery, we need to decide if Kenny was purposely misleading in his last video or if he just had a natural tendency to overstate things. If he intended to be misleading, then that whole video is full of false clues. If he just innocently overstates things, it makes all the leads in that video worthless as real clues. One, look at the maps that I have posted, then watch all the directions that Kenny's pointing to, and you will find many mistakes. It is possible that he was just bad at directions, but he was a long distance hiker after all. So that's really bizarre because this guy's saying that based on landmarks and roads, he's either saying things that are false on purpose to make it look like it was the middle of nowhere and more dangerous or cool than it was, or he really doesn't know where things are in relation to where he is. I'm not sure how possible it is. You know, he could just be so reckless that he doesn't feel the need. Like, or it could be he's that familiar with an area. You know, like if you have a normal drive to work and someone asks you, well, which road do you take to get from here to here? You might not even remember the name of the roads because you're so familiar with the area. You just kind of go by what it looks like. And you might not really know. That's the first thing I thought of before condemning him to being, you know, completely incompetent at directions. If he's that familiar with the area, he might not necessarily. I mean, I don't know. That's more of a stretch because you're hiking in wilderness. It's not like there's 50 million streets. Whereas if you're going to work, there's so many different streets. But if you're just going by what it looks like, you might not know which road is in relation to somewhere else, especially if it's not your hometown. So if you commute to another town or you're visiting a friend that you visit many times, you might have gotten the MapQuest or GPS a couple times. And then after that, you kind of just, you memorize one exit and you go by what everything looks like, not necessarily memorizing all the names and the relation to other landmarks or cities. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would be completely lost. So, I mean,
You mean in what I
I,
just in what
I
I just said, or in terms of relations to landmark, or both?
in relation to landmark, I mean, I get lost with many landmarks.
I don't.
So,
For some
like,
reason, Maxwell. For some reason, I don't think our listeners are going to be surprised by that. Maxwell's a master of getting lost both figuratively and physically.
um, yeah, you know, people actually do that toilet paper thing, right? Like they do like the toilet paper thing, so they know where they went and stuff. Like, so they follow a pattern.
I don't really know about that. What do you mean?
Uh, and so, like people bring toilet paper, so they put toilet paper on trees, so they track their path.
On trees. Yeah, yeah, or whatever. Yeah.
That's a good method. I mean, I that's something I would do. But then if you have to go to a restroom, then you run out.
Well, if you're in the desert and there's just large sections of open desert, I mean, I guess you could leave it on the cactus, but or yeah, it's
Well, I thought it was kind of weird, but then again, I thought about it. Wait a second, toilet paper is actually a good idea. It's good for the environment. It's not like, because it's gonna decompose and disappear within like, a month or two.
yeah. So that's definitely curious. So okay, Jeff CLA's point two. He says no roads and no trails. Kenny drove his truck into the area on Alamo and Joe May roads, and the mine is on a trail that starts near the end of Joe May Road. And all of these things can be clearly seen on Google Maps. So is he lying to make it seem more exotic, like he's in the middle of the desert in the middle of nowhere? Or is for some reason he's not considering these roads? I mean, that's kind of strange, right? Because the people that have been there and searched, there are clearly roads and trails right there, and he says there aren't. As if he's making it for this just a more sensationalist, or it just makes him seem like more of an adventure going in these middle of nowhere areas. I don't know. What do you think about that?
That's very interesting. I mean, huh, kind of deceiving. Ah, that's kind of rough. So he's making these YouTube videos where it looks like, oh, he's out of like nowhere, but if you really go beyond that, like there's like paths and trails and streets.
Well,
Is that
I
what you
mean,
mean?
they're not.
That's what you mean, right?
Well, they're not that close by, but he's just painting a picture that it's the middle of nowhere, which if you read about the case just from the outset, it does sort of sound like that. But Las Vegas is not that far, 10, 20, 30, 40 miles away, the top of North Las Vegas, but and there are roads not that many miles so away, and so yeah, it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. Other people have described Kenny Veach as kind of like a storyteller, so he embellishes things, so not necessarily lying about anything, but he just likes to weave a tale. So I guess that could explain it, or for whatever reason he's not thinking about it. Maybe he uses the word road in terms of major, highly traffic highway. Because people that have went to search the area, some of them said they never saw another person there ever. So even though there are roads and trails, the people that went to search for him, they said on their searches they never ever saw anybody else hiking there. That's kind of creepy, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that far from Vegas. You would think it'd be a more popular destination, maybe. I don't know. I don't live in Vegas. So have you been to Vegas, Maxwell?
No.
I have been to Vegas, and yeah, I guess most people just stay on the strip and gamble when they visit Vegas. But and what? Well, the locals, they just I guess that's their hometown. But yeah, for whatever reason, there was not people do not report those trails or roads being traveled highly. Okay, he also says that Picture Canyon is a good place to go spelunking when extensive searching has not located even one deep cave there. So this
What's
is
spelunking?
spelunking.
Yeah.
It just means exploring caves.
Oh, that's a new word for me, at least.
Oh, come on, man! I thought that'd be one of your hobbies. Maxwell Powers, expert spelunkerer.
Ah. Wait. So, what does it mean? Just hiking around?
It's just the exploration of caves, as in a hobby. You just go,
Ah,
kind
I,
of
I
like
found
so
myself. I found
hiking.
myself a new hobby.
Yeah, so hiking is, you're just walking or traversing trails, whereas spelunking, you're specifically exploring caves or caverns. So the distinction here is caving is specifically done for surveying and documenting in terms of more to the area of researching, whereas spelunking is kind of like tourist based recreational exploring. Just for those wondering what the difference between caving and spelunking is. So, okay, what does that tell us? So, there are no deep caves in the area. So, does that make us think that even his claim of the M cave, going to explore it, does that mean that that cave that looks like an M in his video isn't really that's not the one? Because the cave that he's talking about was big enough to enter, whereas the people that have searched this Picture Canyon area say that there's no real caves there. None. So the only other thing I can think of is if he was confused, and especially if he's not good at directions, if he's a Maxwell Powers type of hiker, then maybe it was a different canyon altogether and not Picture Canyon. Maybe it was a lot farther. Maybe that's why he hasn't been found. Maybe it's on some of the restricted land that belongs to the bases. That would explain it even more. If he got lost and maybe he didn't even realize he got lost, but then accidentally made his way back on a trail, thinking he was somewhere else. If he thought he was in a different canyon than when he was, and somehow it just worked out that he got back on the path, so he didn't realize that he was mistaken, would that account for it?
Ah, I see.
I mean, obviously, this would have to be predicated on him not being good at directions, which, if he's not sensationalizing in the video and he really is poor at directions or landmarks or just not detail oriented in general, then that could possibly explain it. It could possibly explain why the M cave have not been found and he has not been found because he was actually somewhere other than where he thought he was. Or if this is some kind of weird interdimensional area or government experiment with stargates or any kind of gateways or even some kind of mind control technology to disorient people, especially if this is an area that isn't highly traveled, if this is just not a popular hiking area and they only get, one or two or three people every couple days or every week, whatever it is, that would be good to experiment on because of situations like this. Every once in a while, someone goes missing, people don't ask a lot of questions, but could that cause the person to become disoriented, go to an area where they think they're not, or they think they're in another area? That might possibly explain it. I don't know. Or he just made up the story because that area doesn't have any big caves. So if there is no weird paranormal or government funny business going on, then he just made up the cave and this is all sensationalist and there is no M cave and we still don't know what happened to him. But okay, so point 4 He says at one point that the M cave is up on the side of a mountain. Then later he says that M cave is near ground level. Which is it? Well, I mean, that inconsistency I think can be explained if the M cave is really big. So if the top of the M's, the two M points, are very high up on the side of the mountain, which caused him to spot it from a distance, but that the entrance could be near ground level or one of the entrances. I don't know if it's an uneven M. We don't know. That point actually isn't, I don't find too strange. But Jeff CLA also goes on to say, listen to his video closely and keep these inconsistencies in mind and see if you can solve any of this. It may help to solve the mystery if someone can figure this out. My view is that Kenny had to know that most of what he was saying was not true, but I cannot tell why he said it. So what do you think, Maxwell? Do you think he was just telling a tall tale?
I don't know.
Or what do you think?
I don't know, man.
What?
I had a hard time tracking that. I have a hard time remembering what the things that you said to your points.
He said the M cave was up on the side of a mountain. He also said it was at ground level. He also said there were no roads and trails. There's not a lot to remember here, Maxwell.
Oh, that's it. So, and what I think about that, like, I
The
don't know, he's not
inconsistency,
lying.
the inconsistencies.
Wait,
Because
what was inconsistent about that?
there
He
are
always
no
talk.
roads and trails when there are.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, but I already talked about that. I
I know.
said
Now
it was weird.
We're summarizing now everything we talked about.
Oh.
So he said the M cave.
Okay, well, okay, it's a little bit weird. I mean, I guess he does have that ego thing where he wants a little bit of attention, like he's this crazy adventurer, when in fact there were trails, or it could be this. Maybe he was exploring something and he didn't notice the trails and he went off an unbeaten path. Is that how you say it? You know what I mean?
Oh,
And then
that's what I mean. It's well, he's talking about the area. Yeah, it is kind of tough. He's talking about the area, but the trail, there is a trail that goes right to the mine though. So he seems to be making generalized statements like there are no roads and trails, but there are. It's not like he went into some deep little corner and then said, "Oh, there's no trails or roads in this little corner." He didn't say that.
uh, oh, so he wasn't being specific. He was just being general.
Right, that's why it's inconsistent because in general there are roads and trails
Yeah.
in that whole area, in the whole
He's
area.
not being he's not being very wide scope in his, or should I say uh he's not being clear. That is,
Yeah.
and he's just letting. But I don't know. It's kind of like, I mean, if he's being honest, he's not. Then it just means that he's just saying it like how he experiences it, not necessarily trying to deceive.
Well, I
Because
don't know. Some
because
people
he already is adventurous. I mean, he's crazy with snakes, and he's got videos of that. So it's not like, I mean, he plays with snakes, so he doesn't have to prove to the world that
well,
there's
hold
no
on a
trails
second
around
though.
here. That
People,
means I'm
yeah, but
adventurous.
yeah, but if someone's personality type is to weave tall tales, they're gonna do that with everything. So obviously they're not liars. They just exaggerate to make it seem even more of a tall tale.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, I wouldn't dig that deeply into. I mean, it's like
Well,
I'd make note. I'd make note of it, but like,
this episode is about the psychological aspects of the case. So we
okay,
are
gotcha,
digging deep.
gotcha.
We are digging
Um,
deep.
uh, hmm,
So Jeff CLA seems to think it's very relevant. And I think so too. I think it definitely leads clues. Even if it's not ultimately what happened to him, I think if we can't view this video, this MK search for the MK video, I think we have to keep in mind that there are inconsistencies and that he might be weaving a tall tale and we can't take the video completely literal as gospel truth every word he says. That's my point here.
okay.
So if he's weaving tall tales, some people also suggest that he wanted to commit suicide or start a new life. And he wanted the attention, so that's why he made the video. And then he disappeared, and now he's sitting around laughing somewhere or just enjoying that people are discussing the M cave that doesn't exist and his mysterious video that he left on purpose. From watching his videos, I don't believe that's what happened. I think he seemed like a genuine grounded guy to me, like a good guy, very smart, a lot of ingenuity. You know, he's coming up with inventions. He just seems like a really, I don't know, that was my impression, is that he's a really good guy and he wouldn't do something like that. He just got caught up in YouTube and he wanted to prove that it exists, especially if it was some kind of weird government experiment or paranormal occurrence that was kind of that he was simply a victim of and didn't realize it. So he might have been telling what he believed to be the truth about the M cave, even if there's no M cave, or the M cave is interdimensional or whatnot, or this was simply implanted in his mind and it doesn't really exist. So anyway, I'm just pointing out that some people think that he made the video as kind of sort of like a hoax or an exaggeration. For example, the M cave in the video might be the M cave, and then if he did it on purpose, he didn't mean to show it in the video. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but uh did he not explain the M cave like more specifically, like they're really tall? But actually, you thought
He
the
said it
M's.
was big enough for him to enter, but it's not clear whether he's talking about which part of the M. It wasn't
Uh,
specific enough. It wasn't specific enough to say it was the most gigantic M, or if it only the largest part of the M was enough to enter and it seemed kind of deep. But from the people that have explored that Picture Canyon area, they say there's no real caves there. So you can't really enter any of them. They're just very shallow and small. So like maybe for animals, but not for humans. So yeah. Anyway, so I think the psychological aspects of Kenny Veach are relevant.
gotcha.
Other people say that that area could have been subject to flooding, so the ground level there could have been an issue there, or if if there is some kind of weird underground cave system where certain rocks could be blocking it, or if the flooding caused movements or rocks or cave entrances to be blocked, so then that wouldn't be spotted. And even the shape of the M cave is now subject to speculation because it might not always look like an M.
Yeah.
That's all you got?
Well, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, that's all I got.
I didn't consider that before, but yeah, also different lighting conditions. Lighting conditions can cause shadows. Was the M, how close was the M cave? He was approaching it, then he started vibrating. If we factor in the shadows in the canyon or in a nearby mountain or even his own shadow, I don't know, depending on what kind of mental state he was in, could shadows account for the M shape, in which case people looking for an M cave would not find it, or they would only find it at a specific time of day due to shadows.
Ah, that's that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So it might not even necessarily be a red herring. It just might not look like an M, and that's why nobody can find it.
So like, I see. Like it could be a certain angle, like looking at it, like or from a
Yeah,
different height.
yeah,
Like if you're looking up, you see an M, but if you're looking from another position, maybe at a higher point,
yes,
not an M.
yes,
So
also a possibility. And of course, the position of the sun. So, yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. Other people speculate he might have actually crawled into that M shaped cave or a different cave, and then his movement might have caused the cave to become blocked by other rocks. And that's why he's not found. So he's actually in that area. His body or remains are still there, but it's been blocked by rocks and nobody's been able to notice exactly where due to, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly how many caves are there or how deep they're explored. But that still doesn't explain the cell phone, does it? It does not explain the cell phone just being
yeah,
placed. It was just
yeah,
placed by the mine, which is quite a distance from where the Picture Canyon M cave is. I still think if something distracted him and then at that moment, he didn't care about the M cave. Or like, what if? So remember, in part one, I postulated that if there was some kind of due to it being a nuclear test site, if there was some kind of mutated humanoids or monsters living, what if one of them cried out for help from the bottom of the mine, and Kenny Veach wanted to help them? Or if it's a serial killer that preys on hikers, or and he's hiding at the bottom of the mine It's unclear whether they climbed all the way down the mine. It seems like they did, or at least they used some kind of robot or device with a camera. They dropped it down to see. It's unclear how far that mine shaft goes or whether or not it connects to other shafts. So if Kenny Veach, let's say Kenny Veach heard someone at the bottom of the mine. So an experienced hiker, they would mark their position, right? So did he leave his cell phone as a marker that he went down the mine to try to help somebody just in case he didn't make it back up? So people would kind of see where he was? That would
That's
be
a yeah, that's a good. Wait, did anyone try to go into the mine to look for him?
it seems like they did based on, because how could they not? How could you do a third, especially when his cell phone is there? So it seems like they must have gone down, but the question is, are there interconnecting mines or is there a blocked entrance that they didn't notice? Or something hidden where it can possibly connect to other mines? Because supposedly there's dozens, if not hundreds of mines in that area. Some are known, some are unknown. How far do they go? I don't know, but
So are mine tunnels like kind of, do they weave out, or do they branch out, or is it just one that goes deep? Does that make
well,
sense? Like,
I believe, I mean, in general, both. So it depends on it depends on which and where. I haven't explored those, so I don't know. I'm saying it's possible they might connect to other tunnels, but the connection might be blocked off, or there might have been some kind of a mudslide or flooding effect that caused something to block or not be noticed, and he's beyond it. But in terms of the cell phone placement, if he's not there for suicide, he would leave his cell phone if he did, especially if he didn't have anything else. He would leave it there as a marker. So if anybody else found the area, they would say, "Oh, that's his cell phone." Especially if they look at the cell phone. So was that a marker of him saying, "Oh, I went down the mine shaft," just in case something happens and he doesn't come up, so somebody could rescue him?
yeah, that's a good point. I like that idea.
I mean, I can't think of any other reason. Why else would he do that?
Yes, yeah, because it's not like you can make an emergency call inside the mine, so you leave it out as a marker.
Right, especially because someone can identify the phone as yours.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So Jeff CLA also points out regarding the inconsistencies in the video. If he's making the video kind of like a vlog and not specifically designed for others to follow and search, then he wouldn't. The inconsistencies, it's more of just his personality quirks. Because he's just making more of a day in the
Okay,
life video instead of a here's how you find the cave video.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So he also mentioned that the cave that looks like an M is only a few feet deep and that it has not been caved in or blocked. That most of the caves in Picture Canyon are dug out depressions that were used by ancient Indians.
Wait, he said it's only a few feet deep, the M cave.
Yes, the one in the video. No, this isn't Kenny Veach who's saying this. This is Jeff
Oh,
CLA who searched the area.
okay.
He's the one
So he,
talking about the inconsistencies.
oh, I see. But he did find somewhat that resembled an M.
He found the cave in Kenny Veach's video that looks like an M.
Okay.
He's talking about,
Is that the
yes.
one we were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but to me it just didn't look like a freaking M. So like I kind of like.
Okay.
So
The cave that I think looks like an M in the video. This
yeah,
is
gotcha. I just didn't think it like people would agree with you as me. So
yes, a lot of people think it looks like an M because it actually looks like an M.
it's not an M. It's a fucking like Dracula looking mouth.
It's
So
an M. Anyway, so he's saying that this is not caved in or blocked. It's it's either a dugout depression that was used by ancient Indians as roasting pits or old time miners who dug out some ore. So he's saying these are not natural, big, large natural caves. So the whole area is.
yeah, it looked like a fireplace. It looked like a chimney or something. Not a chimney, but the fireplace that goes into a chimney.
So someone else is saying that this is a flood zone. So silt and rocks are constantly being moved around and it could have blocked the caves.
Gotcha.
However, Jeff CLA says that it looks like it hasn't changed in 20 years and that southern Nevada doesn't get that much rain. And when it does, it runs off the mountains very quickly. So he said that the desert and dry creek beds do get flooded at rare times, but once you're up in the mountains, there is nothing to hold the water. So that's also very interesting. They also discuss either a cougar killing him, a rock slide, or falling off a cliff. Jeff CLA says they are all certainly possible, as those are the things that I worried about out there. Gravel on top of sloping bedrock is not the safest thing to walk on, especially above a vertical drop off. Falling and getting wedged behind a large boulder on impact could hide a body for years. The military idea comes in when people see that the restricted borders for the bombing ranges and secret bases like Area 51 begin only 10 miles west of Picture Canyon and extend for 100 miles north and west. So this is interesting, but 10 miles is still a lot, especially in desert. So to cover that amount of distance, I don't know. What do you think? You think it's likely he just left? So he left himself. Okay. What if, let's not fall for black and white fallacies. Let's say, what if he heard someone or he was hallucinating and he thought he heard someone crying for help from the mine shaft? So he leaves his cell phone on top, goes into the mine shaft. Now, one of two things happen here. Either he does happen to have some kind of interconnecting tunnel that goes way out, possibly to Area 51 or the bombing range area. And he either comes to the surface or doesn't, and something happens there, or he climbs back out of the shaft and for whatever reason does not collect his cell phone and continues on his way. Is it possible he forgot his cell phone? Because if he left the cell phone as a marker, then he climbs into the shaft, climbs out. If an animal caught his attention, or I don't know, this seems unlikely, but what if he wasn't alone? Do we know for sure he wasn't alone? What if he met another hiker out there? I postulated this in part one. If someone else had it out to kill him and they knew he was going out hiking there, they could have planted the car and the cell phone. But let's say that's not true. What if he met someone there, someone who might have not even intended to harm him, but there either was an accident or something happened, or the other person's a lunatic and they were friendly, but then the person snapped or had a psychotic break and then killed Kenny? So we don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, we don't know, and those are possibilities. So yeah.
I don't
So
think anybody.
I mean that place is not frequented, right? Like by
Correct.
hike. I mean, well, there were trails, so
Not
I guess
often. Yeah,
that's
the people that went searching out there said they have never seen anyone else there. Now, I don't know how many times they went to search. I'm sure it wasn't 100. So they went out there a couple times, 5 times, maybe even 10 times. They never saw anybody there. So it's definitely not an incredibly busy, according to these people, it's not a very busy hiking area. It's not the Appalachian Trail.
right.
Some people say that it's too, that they wouldn't search out every single mine and search it. So, I mean, I don't know. Would they? If you're on a search team, you're looking, I mean, you're providing closure for families. Are you going to intentionally see a mine and not search it? I don't know. But are you going to go out of your way to document every single mine? I don't know. But he left that cell phone in front of that specific mine.
Yeah.
Someone else made an interesting comment. They said that the M in M cave means mine cave, as if once again a burrow for excavating ore, and it wasn't, he didn't mean natural cave, so he was using an M as an abbreviation for mining cave or mine cave.
That's interesting. I wonder if anyone else like labeled a mining cave with an M.
I mean, again, we talked about this in part one, the speculation that he went out there to kill himself. Even if that's true, how does that prove that he didn't meet someone else there who killed him and covered it up? Because once again, or not even in serial killer, if it was some kind of mentally unhinged person, or maybe it was a normal person that simply was suffering from delusion. What if they were dehydrated, had some kind of weird psychotic break, and killed Kenny? Or there was an accident and Kenny got killed by accident, not on purpose, and they hid the body somehow. Or they took the body with them. What if Kenny went down the shaft, left his cell phone, someone else was there, he followed that someone else killed them, put him in their car and drove away, leaving Kenny's vehicle and the cell phone? Or if Kenny met someone there and they harmed him, either intentionally or by accident, they took his phone and left it on the mine, near the mine, as kind of to throw everybody off track, and that they took Kenny in their vehicle and left somewhere.
I see.
I mean, I think we need to think outside the box a little bit. Who said that Kenny's out there? He might not be out there. Even if he didn't go and, yeah, even if he didn't go and kill himself. But yeah, so some people really think that Kenny is deep in one of the mine shafts because animals wouldn't necessarily find him there, or if he was on the surface, his body would be found. Any other thoughts, Maxwell?
Um, no, I don't think we know enough. I don't know. There's not enough information.
I mean, I think there's a decent amount of information. The cell phone that was found. Well, here, actually, you know what? Speaking of that, how do we know that Kenny placed the phone there on the day he disappeared? Theoretically. Okay, I hadn't thought of this. Let's say Kenny went hiking, Kenny came back, went home or somewhere else, someone killed him, drove his vehicle with an accomplice back to the parking area and then left the cell phone there and Kenny was never even there that day. Or he left alive and someone else checked his phone with the texts saying that he was going to go hiking there, so they left his car there and his phone there. How do you like that, Maxwell?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because who said we don't have proof on when the phone was left there, do we?
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, we can't assume that it just happened to be left there when Kenny went there, if Kenny went there. Hmm. The other interesting thing that there were no tracks next to the cell phone. So Jeff CLA explored that area. He also found some a skull placed on a mountain of an animal, and he said there were no tracks near the skull. So somebody placed it there on a rock, but I guess that area gets windswept, so there wouldn't be, for whatever reason, there's no tracks. Now that's kind of curious because if there's no tracks, then it's kind of hard to tell when what was left where and who was when. Like that's kind of difficult to track people if it gets windswept, right?
Yeah. What do you mean by windswept? If just the wind just take everything out?
Well, if the wind is moving around all of the desert sand and it would cover tracks as like, like footprints or whatnot.
I see what you mean.
So, final comment from Jeff CLA on this issue. I spent a day in Picture Canyon, and this other searcher spent almost 2 days. Neither of us found any caves deeper than 10 feet. That is part of the problem. I cannot find any mention of caves in the Sheep Range. The things that look like caves from a distance turn out to be more like depressions up close. Kenny claiming that the area is a spelunker's dream is also baffling, considering that he had been there several times and that he knew there were no deep caves there. Or he went in and camouflaged the entrance behind him. Okay, that's an interesting theory if he did it on purpose. So I discussed earlier if there was some kind of a mudslide or some kind of boulders moving or falling that covered up the entrance. If he covered up the entrance behind him on purpose so nobody would ever find the M cave or him, but here's the thing, if he doesn't want to be found, he wouldn't be talking about the M cave. So if he went into a cave that's not the M cave, but why would he even be in that area? Here's the thing, if he's committing suicide and he doesn't want his body to be found, would he go to that specific area to commit suicide where he left a video showing that he's searching for an M cave in that area, increasing the chances that somebody would find his body in that area?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, you're saying that's it's illogical for him to, I don't know, repeat what you said.
Okay, so he made a video about searching for the M cave, right?
Okay.
So he's showing that area, Picture Canyon. He's showing the mine area in the Sheep Range so we can figure out where he is. So if he's committing suicide, would he go do it in an area that he showed in a video where he knew people would coming to look for him if he went missing? Think about it.
I see. And considering what happened to the dad and what the thoughts
Right.
are
So if the
with that.
theory is he's going to commit suicide and he doesn't want anybody to ever find him, would he go do it in an area where he left a video showing the area? The general
I
area.
see what you mean. I see what you
Unless
mean.
you want to go even deeper into psychological mind games where he's just playing games with the viewers and he really is going to kill himself there, but it's like a taunt that he's going to show the area and nobody will ever find him anyway. But I find that highly unlikely unless he's really, really insane, because it seems like if he was really that traumatized by finding his father, he wouldn't want to leave clues to where someone could find his body. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So very, very perplexing case. And I actually didn't really view this case as being a series, but there's actually quite a bit more to uncover. In the next episode, we'll actually be going over the actual searches that were done in the area by different people and see if we can find any other traces of an M cave, especially with newer searches being done all the time. That is a fascinating area. Kenny Veach seems to have turned into a legend, and some people suggest that's what he wanted. Whether he committed suicide or not, if he's alive in a new identity, he wanted to go out from his previous identity in legend form, in tall tale form. Is that what this is? I don't know. I don't really think so. I didn't get that impression from his videos. What do you think?
No, I don't know. I mean, if he's not, then he did a good job at doing it.
Yeah. All right. We hope you enjoyed another edition of MindShock True Crime. If you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check link in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you liked it, hit the like button. Feel free to share it. Like our Facebook page. You can also check us out Twitter, Reddit, Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off.
And Maxwell Powers.
We'll catch you guys next time.